Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the Next Reel, when the movie ends.
Our conversation begins.
Deep Red is over. Gianna, there's someone in the house absolutely trying to kill me. You know? Was that a good read?
You should have been in the movie.
I should have been in the movie. I practically was. All right, Andy, we're talking about Deep Red. This is our first Giallo on this show proper. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I talked about Italian Giallo films over on CinemaScope, where I looked at this film and 9 others and dug deep into that whole subgenre of these really incredibly bloody and fun Italian movies. So great time on that one.
I feel like the conversation could be the same as our conversation on spaghetti westerns with just more blood. Like a lot of the way they made these movies seems very familiar to me, with just a lot more blood.
A lot more blood, certainly. Yeah, I mean, Italian Giallo films are Giallo means yellow, and it's named that way because of these original books that these had been written back, I think, in Italy back in the 20s, 30s, and they had a yellow cover, and they were all these dark crime thrillers, and so that was the idea. And they have masked killers,
really,
and they have they're always wearing these black leather gloves, and they were very kind of pulpy crime mystery novels, and even to the point where Agatha Christie novels, when they would bring those over to Italy, they would publish them with a yellow cover because that was kind of the whole thing. And so these Giallo films really kind of are very much slasher. They kind of went darker and bloodier, slasher, thriller, psychological horror. Sometimes we're getting into sexploitation, sometimes supernatural, but there's a disagreement among people who track the genre if once we get into something like Suspiria with witches, is that Giallo or have we gone to something completely different? So this, as we're celebrating our 50th anniversary of these films, these Golden Jubilees, we're looking at this film because Dario Argento's Deep Red, or Profondo Rosso, certainly is one that has stood the test of time as a great example of this particular subgenre.
Stood the test of time. There are people who say this is the quintessential example of a Giallo film.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what from nothing, but does that line up?
It definitely lines up. We're getting all of the expected tropes. We're getting the mystery. We're getting all of the different gruesome murders throughout. We're getting the figure in kind of the masked outfit, extreme close-ups of those leather gloves getting zipped on.
Oh, so many close-ups.
Childhood trauma. There's a lot of stuff going on in this particular story that absolutely makes this stand out it also happened to come out right in the height of this period where Giallo films were all the rage over in Italy. And so this one just hit at that perfect time where it just was yes, this is exactly what we want to see in these films.
Can you give us just a brief, is it a tutorial? No. You learned a lot during your conversations over on CinemaScope, and I would like just a sense of how you have learned to approach these movies as films. What are you looking for? What are the tropes besides zippy gloves? But in terms of thematic analysis, what are the Giallo films? Do they have a sort of consistent approach that we need to be aware of? Are there this one has a lot to do with identity and sort of fragmented memory. Are we looking at those sorts of things? This is masculinity in crisis too, right? That seems like another one that they're sort of poking at. Childhood domestic violence, are they consistent?
There's definitely a lot of those sorts of elements. It's like anything. There are always going to be differences and variations. But at the core of it, it is generally a murder mystery thriller. often without the cops doing the detective work. We're getting somebody else who is somehow involved or connected or is being stalked or whatever, who decides to take it upon themselves to do it. Again, very...
British jazz pianists? Are that consistent? Are there always British jazz pianists?
Not always. Not always. Again, very bloody. The camera work is often really creative in the Giallo films. Like, they have a lot of fun with extreme close-ups and just playing with these different angles and a lot of unique things. Often the people who are dying, you don't get that so much in this one, but something like Blood and Black Lace, often the people who are getting killed are very beautiful women. And so that's something that happens less in this one, but it does happen more often. That often you'll get, like I said, you're not necessarily getting the cops who are doing the detective work, but it's somebody who's in a lot of them, it's more of somebody who's traveling through or something and then kind of end up getting involved. Let's see, what else? I mean, again, it's a mystery story, so we're not getting the reveal until the end. I think the thing is, because it is kind of just a mystery story, it's also just following a lot of the tropes of what we get in other mysteries, right? We're just getting like the setup, we're getting red herrings, we're getting close, people getting information and then either getting killed or not being able to pass on that information. Eventually we get the big reveal. Sometimes there's a twist to that reveal, which we definitely have here in this film. So the way to watch it, again, and you've already mentioned the kind of that loose connection to spaghetti westerns, only in the sense that when these Italian filmmakers take these sorts of stories on, they're much bigger, and you've got to kind of walk into it expecting kind of over the top performances, and everything's kind of a little more, it just plays in kind of a broader scope than you would get, and so, and some of that makes sense with Argento himself having had a background in some of the spaghetti westerns. I can't remember how much it came up in our conversation, but when we discussed some of Sergio Leone's films, Argento certainly was involved in working on the stories with Leone. And so yeah, it's just, I think when you walk into these films thinking about it that way, I think is probably going to help you kind of connect with the vibe that they're putting forth.
One of the things that this movie celebrates is the POV of the killer.
Sure,
right? It has some real Black Christmas vibes to it. And is that a thing that is a staple of Argento that becomes sort of a trademark of Argento, or a trademark of Giallo more broadly?
I think you could say it's definitely a Giallo thing, keeping the identity secret of our killer and playing it with it that way. And I think some of the fun Argento moments are things like the knife cam, like when we have the knife coming down to go through a man's throat. But and you can see where somebody like Sam Raimi would latch on to these ideas. It feels like the knife is attached to the camera, and because the camera is following the knife as it comes down and plunges into his throat. And it's not like a loose follow. It's like literally attached. Like that knife doesn't move at all as it comes down.
Oh, yeah.
So you see a lot of those sorts of playful things that Argento's bringing to the table with his kind of creative camera work, the designs that he does with his cinematographer. Here it's Luigi Cuveler. I don't know if I'm saying the last name right, but anyway.
That trick, the knife attached to the camera trick, I love that trick, and it made me think horribly of the Pepsi commercial that's all the rage in the theatrical pre-shows right now. Have you seen this, where it's the Pepsi can and there's all kinds of stuff going on around it, and the Pepsi, like the scene is moving? It made me think of this movie. I think the Pepsi can is a Giallo commercial.
I clearly don't, we're not getting that particular Pepsi ad in our theaters.
Oh, Andy, you're worse for it.
Maybe it's because we're Coke.
Oh, you're Coke. You're a Coke people. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, I guess the question I have for you is, what do you think I thought of this movie?
That's a good question, because I don't think that you've really dug into Giallo films before.
No.
Yeah, but although I know you've seen Italian, a lot of these sorts of types of Italians, you might have seen Suspiria. I can't remember if you've seen the original Suspiria.
Yes, I have watched Suspiria.
Okay.
It was shortly after you and Steve did the Goblin concert watch, the live show watch.
Oh,
and
it's so much fun.
Yeah, and I felt like I was left out and that I needed to be a part of it in some way. So I sat down and I watched that movie.
Okay.
Crazy. So that's it, though. I think that's really it. And I was not watching it from the perspective of, what is a Giallo film? I certainly don't have that experience with it.
But at least that's an Argento film that you've seen.
Yes.
Which sounds like it might. Would you say that? Can you say for sure? Is that the only Dario Argento film you've seen?
I believe it is. Yes, I can say that with guarded confidence.
Okay.
That's the only.
Yeah. So
one I've seen.
Then, knowing that, I think that you probably enjoyed this, but probably, I don't know. I'm wondering if you thought it was a little big and a little over the top.
Okay. I'll start by saying, spoiler, in my Letterboxd review, this movie gets a heart. It is a big heart, right?
Okay.
I really enjoyed my time with the movie. I thought it was bonkers. And there are so many opportunities to come out of the movie and say, what the hell are they doing with this right now? Right? Like, there's just a lot of that. But I had a blast with it. Like, I had a ball. I did not find the resolution of the mystery satisfying. I didn't like that. I felt like that was out of the blue. And I wonder if that's just, I need to loosen up on my criticism of mysteries that don't resolve in a fashion tidy enough to be satisfying. The truth is, I didn't see how the story connected to Mom. Although for character economy, of course, it was probably, I should have called it as Mom all along. Like in hindsight, I guess it was a big flag on the field when they introduced that wackadoo lady that she would have something to do with it. Why is she even in the movie if she's not like principal to the resolution? But I did not find that satisfying. Where do you stand on just the mystery?
I think that in many ways, you'll probably end up finding that with a lot of Giallo films as well, where the mystery is, I mean, I don't want to call it like Scooby-Doo-ish, but they end up being like...
No, you could.
You could. We're not getting masks pulled off or anything like that, but there is a sense of a structure with the mystery where it's put together just to resolve everything, yet it's not necessarily like building to something that is as like, there's not necessarily like a thematic satisfaction. It's just kind of like, we're just going to get an ending and we're just going to see, these are the people who did it. And you kind of get some loose reasons why. And I don't know, I have found that in many ways you just kind of like go along with it because that's just kind of like, that's the idea they had. Oh, what if it's this? And what if she's involved too? And like, and so we kind of end up with that sort of situation. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it necessarily, if you want to couch your reactions to all mysteries, or if it's just something that when it comes to watching Giallo films, you want to go, okay, we're just going to kind of get some of this sort of mystery.
Well, and I'm hot under the collar a little bit because we just watched the new release on Netflix of the Thursday Murder Club. So I'm already mad about that mystery. Like, I felt like that mystery had a huge opportunity to do it well, and I don't think it played very well. So I came into this thinking, a murder mystery, Italian, classic 50-year-old Italian murder mystery. This is going to be great. And it was not great. It's okay because so much of the rest of the movie is really gross and fun. And I actually found, like, you say Scooby-Doo, like the thing about the Scooby-Doo, like the the team in the Mystery Machine is they really have no business solving crime and solving mysteries, and neither does our British jazz pianist. So on that, this movie is exactly like Scooby-Doo, and brilliantly so. Like, the fact that this handsome British guy has taken it on himself to figure out what's going on is delightful. Like, I think the idea is crazy and fun. And the cast of characters that sort of revolve around him are equally bonkers. His drunk friend, whose mother is problematic. Like, I actually found all of those, the sort of orbital cast around him was great. I do want to say that I watched, I think, the same version you watched, which was the shorter dubbed version, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
I was doing a little bit of looking up what the kids call research on the differences between the two versions of the film, having not seen the longer Italian version. Apparently, there are extensive scenes between Marcus and Gianna that develop their relationship and add tonal variety, including subtle feminist commentary. I wonder what that would be like. These scenes are largely cut from the international version, making Gianna seem more like comic relief than a central figure. That was my experience, too.
And there's definitely some more graphic violence that also gets cut. So, but yeah.
Although it seems like most of the violence is intact. Like, if they were cutting just for violence, it seems like there's a lot of stuff in the international version that would have been cut.
I think that the violence that they had cut was, I think there had been like a dog fight sort of thing that seemed too violent at the time, and they had cut that. And then later they reevaluated it and said you can just see that these dogs are actually just playing. They're not actually trying to kill each other. I think that there was more perhaps with that lizard that the little girl is torturing that we get. So I think that that's the sort of violence that was cut. I think kind of the actual potential real animal violence.
The most importantly, it sounds like the ending is intact. Like, the structure of the climax is intact. Although the Italian version apparently, quote, lets moments breathe more slowly with longer pauses and more emphasis on Marcus's psychological unraveling, while the international cut moves quickly to the end. But substantively, it sounds the same.
Yeah. So I think that's largely what we're getting. Although I'd love to just see the original Italian version just to kind of like have a handle on like what has changed, so I can get a sense as to how I feel about the two versions.
It does sound like both you and I were too cheap, because it is available. You could buy it on Apple TV. And
can you? Because when I looked on Apple, it showed as the hour 44-minute version. I didn't see an option in there.
When you click on purchase, it shows you're getting two versions.
Oh,
when you buy this. And when you rent it, you actually have to choose which version you want, but they don't show you a length in the choose window. It's by poster. And I rented it.
Wow.
And I chose wrongly.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was just a straight up lottery.
Wow. I just checked it out from my library and used that version. And all of the versions that I found that were streaming for free were all the hour 44 version. So, and that's interesting that I guess I never went far enough into Apple to look at it. I just looked to see, like, if it had said on the page when I hit, view on Apple, if it had said two versions, like all I saw was just hour 44, purchase or buy, and it didn't even give me that option. So I guess I had to take an extra step. So that's annoying.
Yeah, you got to click through. And the purchase one, you actually get both versions.
Yeah.
You don't have to choose. When you rent, you have to choose which one.
Yeah.
So
weird.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've been responding a lot. You tell me where you would like to start when you're talking about this movie.
I want to dig into this. We've talked a lot about kind of just like the the aesthetic of the film, but I wanted to kind of get your read, because I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about how you enjoyed it, you thought it was bonkers, all of that, but I want to get your sense of how you felt about really kind of this visual language that Argento was using. You know, we've got some extreme close-ups of like the tape player when the killer is playing the cassette of that creepy children's song, right? Like super extreme close-ups. Same thing of the zipper. We've got extreme close-ups of all these little children toy memorabilia things that are just kind of moments like that. And likewise, just kind of the overall look and everything. And then we can also throw in the kills if you want to do that. But before we get to the kills, I just wanted to get your sense of how that kind of the visual storytelling style of this, if that lent to kind of the bonkers feel for you, or just how it played.
Yeah. So the sort of tableau is surreal and I guess artistic, painterly. I think he makes good on just natural locations, which add a lot to the kind of Baroque feel of the film, and how everybody operating in the scene feels out of place, right? It's this like modernity implanted in history, which is an awesome like sleight of hand that you get from shooting where they were shooting. But when they then take the camera, and I mean, you say they're extreme close-ups, but extreme close-ups that put you inside what feels like a gigantic universe. Like we're traipsing around where the camera is moving inside of these kind of things. It makes everything feels really big. And I think it goes toward that sense of being out of place. It's really jarring how they end up using the camera here. And it feels very personal. It feels like it does a weirdly able job of putting me in this wackadoo universe that I found unsettling and really compelling. Like I was deeply invested in the universe that they were creating beyond any of the murders and all of that stuff. I love the idea of putting me so intimately close to objects and items of the Anthropocene sort of era.
Yeah, there's a couple moments that really just stick in my head. One is when we get it's a shot of a record being played, and it's
Yes.
like this extreme close-up of the head and the needle on the record, but it's like the camera is also like panning around it at such an extreme close position. And I was just like kind of mesmerized by how they had that camera move integrated into that entire thing. It was incredibly slick.
And it made it's like the trick of the eye that they're pulling here is that it makes me think that they actually built a giant record player, right? It feels like this is all miniature stuff,
right?
That
it's wild,
or scaling sets, like they built a giant human-sized record player. It's really fascinating what they get away with because of these tricks.
The other thing that I find works incredibly well is when the killer, we cut to several times, putting on black eyeliner around the eyes, and it's done in such a way that it just feels violent. Like it feels like like damage is being done. The way that it's being put on is aggressive and heavy and dark and high contrast, and you're just getting this done in a way where it's off-putting, and it really does add to that sense of horror. It's so effective. I love all of those eye close-ups that we get throughout the film.
Yeah, it pulls the tissue around the eye in, again, a very disquieting way.
Yeah.
I don't. Any eye stuff is tough for me.
Yeah. It's not quite eye trauma because it's eyeliner, but it's bordering. Right. It's bordering on eye trauma.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's now jump into the actual kills, because I think adding to the visual language of the story, it's a murder mystery, but as you'll see in the Italian Giallo films, they tend to just jump into the incredibly gruesome, which you don't always get in like an Agatha Christie sort of thing. Like this is pretty bloody stuff, you know. Aside from our first murder, when the psychic gets killed, and you get that as he pulls her out of the window, and like the giant chunk of glass is still sticking out of her throat, so there's blood everywhere there. Then we get the boiling the woman's face in the scalding water.
That would be the death of Amanda Righetti.
Yep.
Which is tough.
Yeah.
The blistering skin. This one, I mean, here we go. This is just violence that is prolonged and exaggerated and absolutely artistic in its theatrical brutality. This is, I mean, it's elegant. It is as elegant brutality as the giant record player that we're running on. But as much as the visuals are incredible, so is the sound. Like you hear everything when her face is being smashed into those tiles. Like you hear bones crunch and water boil, and all of these things are happening, at the same time. It's sensory overload.
Carlo Rambaldi, who, I mean, we've talked about back like when we did E.T., is a master special effects wizard. And you can see why Hollywood latched on to pulling him in, and especially Spielberg with like Close Encounters and this. And he also worked on Alien and a number of just big Hollywood projects, but you can see why they grabbed him after seeing like these sorts of effects, like that blistering effect when she is laying on the tile and just looking at her face. I mean, it was pretty awful. It was just completely horrifying. Like one getting drowned is already awful, but two, getting drowned in scalding hot water just like adds a level to it that you just don't want it to be taken to. It's just
she gets sous vide'd. Yeah. It's so bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's rough. But I think the first death of Helga Ullmann, right? Like that's not easy. The way she falls on the glass. It doesn't compare to the bathroom sequence.
But how does it compare, Pete, to the death of our dear Professor Giordani? This one, I was thinking about you during this one because there's so much dental trauma. And just the idea of it is so, well, one, I just also want to bring up the fact that we have one of the creepiest dolls in cinema that, I mean, it surprises me every time I watch this because I know it's coming, but just the way that it comes out is just, it's so off-putting and wrong and creepy in every way.
I don't understand. That was the thing. The doll runs across the room, but it's a mechanical doll. How big is the doll? Like the sense of scale, it happens so fast.
It's like half a person.
It's half a person, right? Like it's a big doll. And then he is killed. The problem is this is like so far the most, this is bad. This is right up there with American History X. And American History X, it's because of that curb stomping that I won't watch that movie again, right? Like it's horrible. And this is right there. And it's just again and again smashing his face into the edge of the desk and his teeth like mouth open, smashing against the corner. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
It starts off at the hearth. He does it in the hearth and then brings him over to the table. And then after all of that, first getting traumatized by a creepy doll, then getting his teeth bashed in like several times. Then he gets stabbed through the throat. That's when we get that fantastic knife cam as it comes down onto his throat and drives it right through the table.
By the mantle. Yeah, and the lighting is beautiful against this. Again, like that's a real showcase of the artistic cinematography of these kills. Like it weirdly, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's stunning the way that they shoot all of this stuff. They make it just gruesome and fun and over the top, and they don't like cut away. Like we're seeing this stuff. And then our last kill is when the killer gets caught in the elevator and decapitated with her own necklace.
By her own necklace. Have you ever seen a necklace quite sturdy enough to do that? I mean, I've never tried. But it's the charm gets caught in the grate of the necklace. It's an old-fashioned elevator, the open side elevator with just the grates. And the charm gets caught and pulls her up, and then her own chain completely decapitates her.
Yeah. It's gruesome. That is one hell of a necklace. Like, it is like...
Yeah.
Not only is it strong, but apparently also sharp enough to just like rip right through everything.
Through bone. I mean, I guess it gets a disc in the neck and pops that disc and severs those nerves. Maybe it's not quite. I mean, if you want to think through it.
You can. You can work
I'm not a
through
medical professional,
yeah,
but...
Right. It's awful.
Or an executioner of any sort.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And then we also get the dragging behind the garbage truck. I'm sorry, I couldn't say it without bursting in laughter. It is one of the funniest deaths that we get.
Because, like, they do so much gruesome stuff, and then the dragging behind the truck
with the guy's just completely clueless to the whole thing.
Totally clueless.
Yeah.
And that he's unconscious when he's ultimately killed.
When the car pops his head.
The car, pops his head.
God, yeah.
I thought we were going to get away with, like, maybe this is the one that shows the most realistic sort of trauma. But no, they had to drive a car over his head.
Yeah. All we needed really in that scene, just to go full parody, is the two garbage men like dancing to a song in their car, like bopping their heads along as they're like, they swing around the corner and he comes swinging and like hits his head on the curb. Like, it's just so goofy, but oh my God, I was laughing out loud with that whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, we talk about Scooby-Doo. This is a Scooby-Doo death, right? This is like maybe Shaggy and Scooby are driving the truck. Like, that would have
right
kind of filled it in.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of crossed a point where Scooby-Doo, like, we've turned the whole Scooby-Doo thing into incredibly bloody storytelling. But if it was,
I can't wait till that falls out of public or into public domain, because I think people are going to go full blood and honey on Scooby-Doo. I can't wait.
Scooby did it. Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty
Scooby
done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that lends a big part to the Giallo aesthetic. And so I think it's very fun. It's very bloody. It's just over the top, crazy. You know, like, if I were a kid, I would have had a blast watching these. I mean, I still have a blast watching it, but it's the sort of thing that just really sticks in your head. And so to that end, I think it's fun, especially because, like, all of the blood is just kind of like just such red blood. I mean, I don't, the title is Deep Red, Profondo Rosso. I don't know if it's specifically just about the blood, but there certainly is a lot of it that we end up seeing over the course of the story. So,
can you tell me your thoughts on our hero protagonist?
Yeah, Marcus, played by David Hemmings. This is something that you would get a lot in Giallo films also, where they bring in actors from English-speaking European countries, sometimes from America, to kind of play the lead, and then they would do these alternate dubs. I mean, you know, as we talked about in the spaghetti westerns, they were dubbing it anyway. That's kind of how Italy was making their movies. So if you're watching in Italian, it's also just dubbed. It's just the way that they would do it. So I think that Hemmings works well. I don't know if we've talked about anything else that he's been in on our show before, but he's definitely somebody who's been around. Like, he's acted in all sorts of films and everything. I think he plays it well. He plays I buy him as kind of a jazz pianist living in Rome or in Italy, I guess we'll just say. And just this sense of an actor of a person who kind of takes it upon himself to dig into this, because he knows the killer is now after him, because he was the neighbor of the woman who was killed initially, of Helga, and saw the killer. Like, he actually walks into the house when the killer is still there. That's that whole moment that we have where he's convinced that there's a painting that has been removed, but as we find out that it was actually a reflection of the killer. So he's kind of like come into contact. The killer is now after him. And so and again, the cops are pretty inept in this. They do take shots at Carlo later in the film, but again, also are not very good at hitting him. So yeah, he has to do it himself, because otherwise he's going to get killed.
That was I have to admit, like, as much as I think the fact that it was his friend's mom that was the killer, I love the reveal of his memory of the mirror shot. I love it so much. First of all, the expression on her face is like she's trying to match the wackadoo art, which is all like spectral paranormal faces in these pictures, and her face is trying to mimic that in the mirror. And I want to say I can't believe she gets away with it, but this whole movie is that kind of vibe, and it plays. Ultimately, just the mechanics of that final scene, I think, really work, especially because when we think back to the beginning, when he was going into the apartment, he was moving quickly, he was running. And that's just our human experience of memory, that these visual cues, you think you see something and you didn't see something, or maybe you did, or you just don't know. And I think that actually is, this is one of those things that I think plays very, very well in that final reveal.
Yeah. And they didn't cheat it either. Like, you go back to the beginning and you watch that first shot when he comes in, and it's the exact same. Like,
it's there.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, that's really, I mean, actually, that's a really good point. That's one of those things that would have been easy to cheat. And the fact that they didn't, the fact that you can go back and rebuild the sequence for yourself as a viewer, is a real testament to what they did. Whether or not you buy the overall mystery in the relationship, boy, the mechanics of how he plays that out is really good.
Yeah, yeah. So over the course of the story, Marcus ends up working with a reporter, Gianna, who she starts out, I don't know, antagonistic, I suppose. Certainly antagonistic with the police. They kind of have a typical reporter cop relationship where how did she know? And so you're like, is she in on it? What's the whole thing? But they kind of start this working relationship as they're trying to help each other figure out what went on. But he kind of feels maybe has to help her because she's the one who took his photo and put it in the paper. So the killer, knows that he's perhaps knows more than the killer thought he did. And so hence we have him working with Gianna. Does that play for you? Do you like all of that? And how does Daria Nicolodi work for you in the role?
Well, I didn't know what to think of her at first, but I think I softened to her because after the arm wrestling scene, I really loved the way that was played. The fact that she challenges him to arm wrestling and she wins
the whole
twice.
Yeah.
That's I just think that's a weirdly progressive statement for this movie to make in 1975 Italy. And I enjoyed it, especially since, the rest of who they're killing in this movie are largely women. It's kind of it's an interesting statement. I liked her. I thought she was great.
She, at the time, was, I think, fairly newly married to Argento. So they were a thing, and they would be for about 10 years.
Do you feel it in that scene?
I wonder, I guess I wonder if I feel like she's like, again, I'm curious to watch the longer Italian cut of the film because of the extended conversations and the comedy bits that we have between the two characters. I'm just curious to see how all of that plays, but I do enjoy her in the film. I think that she works well in the role. I think she plays that role well, and she, she's kind of fun in it. So
yeah.
Going back to the story real quick that we didn't bring up, one of the key parts of this is the mystery of the kind of the mother-son relationship. The film starts with that. We have a scene that takes place in the past, and we're seeing a Christmas scene. We're hearing kind of this creepy children's music playing, and there's a silhouette or shadows on the wall of a man and a woman fighting. We're not exactly sure what's going on, but there's some sort of altercation. And that's kind of how things begin. And then we have a body landing on the floor. We have a knife on the floor, bloody knife. We have children's shoes going over and walking and standing next to it. So we don't really know who is involved or why, but that is kind of our setup. How does that play for you as far as kind of giving us a setup of the story? Because once we get into our first murder, we're like, is this tied into psychics? Like, why is it the psychic that's killed? Like, what's going on? How does all of that play?
Well, I think that's the kind of careful dance they're trying to do to make this resolve well. The problem, I think, is that the pacing of the reveal of the mystery itself is such that that by the time you start getting to understanding what the other clues, at least for me, I kind of forget the prologue. Right, I've moved on to this psychic story, to trying to figure out how all of this stuff is related, and I'm no longer tracking the opening sequence. And yet, there are clues to this opening sequence throughout. For example, he goes to the house, right, where he goes several times to the house, and one of the times he's in the house, he finds the drawing on the wall of that scene. And as he leaves, part of the drywall, I guess, that was over the drawing, falls. And you see that he didn't, yet another clue that he missed for reasons was revealed behind that. It gave us a more complete sense of the drawing. And that would have been important for him to know. But I have to be honest, I saw that drawing and I did not connect it to the opening scene. Right, I had forgotten the opening scene completely. So now I'm trying to connect this stabbing situation to the psychic drama. Maybe that sort of discomfort is what Argento wants me to feel, but to me, it felt it felt disconnected in a way that made the mystery feel disjointed and incomplete. Even though I think, maybe this is a second watch concern, right? Like maybe I'll watch it again and I'll get it all in one piece, because this really is a film about detail. Like, as much as its wackadoo murders are central, there is a lot of attention paid to the mechanical detail of the actual mystery. If you take all the other stuff out, I'm saying now, as we're talking about it, I think maybe they really did pay attention to the pieces of this puzzle. And that I guess maybe I was too slow to get it on first watch.
Well, it's definitely, I think they smartly place that opening at Christmas. And so the Christmas tree is what stands out for me, so that when we do get those drawings, I'm like, oh, right, but it's Christmas. That's the whole murder that we had at the beginning. So I think
I would not have been able to tell you it was Christmas.
Yeah. So I think on later watches, that's something that you would pick up on. You would notice that and remember. Right. And it's fun the way that comes back in, like when he's in the house of the realtor who's renting, who has that house as one of his properties. His creepy daughter who kills lizards, she's drawn that and is hanging it in her wall, and like the mystery of like tracking that down, which takes them to the school, and then Carlo shows up to kill them. Like, all that plays, I think, really well, kind of the mystery. Carlo, you can see, is as distraught as he is and has been trying to keep the killer's identity from being revealed because he loves his mom and wants her to be safe. Like, I don't know, the way I read it is Carlo hadn't ever really been doing any of the killing. It had always been his mom. And I think she kills Helga because Helga senses her when she's at the event. She goes foolishly, I'm going to go to a psychic event. And then the psychic picks her out of the crowd. So you've got that kill. And then from that point, Carlo, as a character, seems to slowly be on the decline, right? He just always seems worse and worse and worse. As a side note, I love that he works at a place that looks like Nighthawks. Like that blue bar where he works, it's just a totally weird little
That's so good
nod, yeah. But so the way I read it is that Carlo, I think from his conversations with Marcus and just trying to protect his mom, I think it's him that goes and kills Amanda and the professor, and then is going after Marcus and Jana at the school. And I think his mom comes back to kill at the very end because she's upset that Marcus led to her son's death. That's how I read it. But it's possible mom was doing it all. I don't know. How did you read it?
I read it the same way, that the initial, the inciting killings were Mom, and that Carlo was protecting Mom, and then ultimately Mom was protecting or avenging Carlo. And so it was a real Oedipal murder circle.
Yeah. They were definitely, there was definitely a lot of that. So I don't know. It plays really well. I have a great time with the cast. Oh, and Goblin does the score. This is the first time they work with Argento. It's very 70s, but man, do I have a blast with this score. How did it play for you?
I know you have a soft spot for Goblin in your musical heart of hearts. I don't think I have that kind of connection to Goblin. The score works well for me. It goes in and out of being just interesting and swings toward unsettling in a way that works for this movie. I don't think I'm just generally a Goblin fan. I don't think I wouldn't put this on to study to.
That's a shame.
I'm hearing that.
No, it's great. I just have a blast with the Goblin scores that they would do with Argento. I think there's a lot of fun in their music and just what they're delivering. So,
yeah.
Anything else stand out for you that you want to discuss? Or
I think the movie, it's just much more interesting than I expected it to be. Having heard so much about sort of the Giallo aesthetic, I thought this was just going to be a parade of violence and a psychological trip. And there's much more story in here than I expected there to be. I thought it was going to be more of a fever dream. And I'm pleasantly surprised to say, hey, there's a movie in here that is also really interesting to watch.
Very fun, very fun. Yeah, it's a great one. So, all right. Well, we will be right back. But first, our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Wright and Andy Nelson, LMOP, Michelle Nobler, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.
Attention, all you aficionados of the macabre and connoisseurs of the creepy. Are you ready to embark on a twisted journey through the annals of cinema and curate the ultimate letterboxd list of the greatest creepy dolls ever to grace the silver screen? From the infamous Annabelle, whose porcelain visage concealed a demonic presence, to the eerie and tragic Brahms from The Boy, these dolls have left an indelible mark on our collective nightmares. But let's not forget the diabolical Billy from the Saw franchise, the haunting jester doll from Dario Argento's Deep Red, or the unsettling ventriloquist dummy from the classic British horror anthology Dead of Night. And who could forget the twisted twins from Dead Silence, their ventriloquist dummy grins hiding a sinister secret, or the iconic Chucky from the Child's Play series, the red-haired terror who had been haunting our dreams for decades. Let's not overlook the clown doll from Poltergeist, a double whammy of terror that combines the inherent creepiness of dolls with the spine-chilling uncanniness of clowns. By procuring a Letterboxd Pro or Patron membership, you'll gain access to a wealth of features that will elevate your creepy doll list-making experience to new heights. Not only will you be able to create and share your own lists with like-minded horror aficionados, but you'll also have the ability to explore the lists of others, discovering hidden gems and forgotten terrors along the way. As a special treat for all you devoted followers of the Creepy Doll canon, we're offering an exclusive 20% discount on both Pro and Patron memberships. Simply use the code NEXTREEL when joining our ranks and you'll unlock a world of unparalleled access to the most spine-chilling cinematic creations ever to haunt our screens. And it works for renewals as well. Head to thenextreel.com/letterboxd or just enter NextReel at letterboxd.com. So what are you waiting for, my fellow travelers in terror? Step forth into the shadowy realm of Letterboxd, where the twisted beauty of creepy dolls is celebrated with a perverse sense of glee. Begin crafting your own definitive list of the greatest cinematic creepy dolls, and let the world bear witness to your impeccable taste in all things unsettling. Onwards to Letterboxd, where the dolls are waiting to welcome you with open arms and soulless eyes, ready to guide you through the darkest corners of your childhood memories.
All right, Andy. Sequels and remakes. This is, he kept making movies. Did he make another one of this?
He didn't. No, he never went back to it. He didn't go back to it to do a remake, except as a stage show, interestingly. That's right. In 2007, Argento actually directed a musical theater adaptation of Deep Red with music by Claudio Simonetti from Goblin. So that was a thing. I would love to see how that played. I'd be curious if it went outside of Italy. I don't even know where it played. I just know that he did it. And then in 2010, George A. Romero was actually contacted by Claudio Argento, who is, I believe, the son of Dario. His brother. And he was asked to direct a 3D remake of Deep Red. Claudio apparently didn't ask Dario if it was okay, is the problem. And so when Romero contacted Dario's like, I haven't heard anything about this. That's when Romero declined Claudio's offer. So never ended up happening, but, probably out of respect for Dario Argento.
Has that ever been done?
No.
A father or somebody's directed a movie and then a son or daughter of that person has come and directed a remake. Can you think of any?
I feel like it has. I just can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Huh. Okay. Interesting. Because I know we get Cronenberg's, right? We have a son who's making movies, but they've never done, I don't think Brandon's ever done a remake of.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we have to talk about? How to do an award season?
Waiting for you.
Yeah, that's my turn. Yeah, I was looking at. I was trying to figure. This was really important. What I was doing was important. All right. What do we have to say about award season?
It wasn't big. It had one win with one other nomination. At the Sitges Catalonian International Film Festival, it was nominated for the Medalla Sitges en Oro de Ley for Best Director and won. And then over at the Italian National Syndicate of Film Journalists, it was nominated for the Silver Ribbon for Best Score, but lost to Youpidoo, which I just want to watch just because that title makes me laugh. Youpidoo.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking for a clever intro that really highlights the absolute desert of budgetary numbers that you have introduced to your own work here. Movie after movie after movie so far this season, with the exception of, I think, one. You're coming up really short. And I wonder if you just want to cancel the bit.
Thanks for that. You're really kind in your...
I have read nothing in the script other than, unfortunately, and I said, yep, that checks out.
Yeah, this was a tough one. Unfortunately, I have no idea how much Dario Argento had to make this movie. What I can tell you, it was released in Italy, March 7th, 1975, then premiered in New York City, June 9th, 1976, with a wide release June 11th. The movie was re-released January 18th, 1980, retitled as The Hatchet Murders, then again in 1982 as The Phantom of Terror. On its initial release in the US, it had earned $630,000, and in Italy it earned $5.7 million for a total gross of $32.2 million, which is a handsome bit of money. I just don't know how much it cost to make, so I can't sort out the profits. Still, it likely worked out for Argento.
Honorary adjusted profit per finish minute.
Honorary, there you go.
All right. Well, I had a blast. I'm glad it was on the list. Thank you, 50 years. project for Andy.
Yeah, I'm glad to get you to finally watch this one. It's a really fun film, and, I think it's a good start for you dipping your toe into the crazy world of Italian Giallo films.
Absolutely. Here's to more.
All right. Well, that's it for today's conversation. Next week, we are looking at Sidney Lumet's Dog Day Afternoon. We'll be right back for our ratings.
You saw it. You know you saw it. There, just for a second, something in the corner of the frame. A flicker, a gloved hand, a shadow that should not have been there. You tell yourself it's nothing. You go back, you watch again, and this time, it is gone. That's what it's like listening to the next reel without a membership. You're missing something. You're missing the full picture, the hidden room behind the crumbly plaster. You're missing the unnerving conversation that is just out of reach. But here is the good news. For just $5 a month, you can unlock the uncut, undubbed, unhinged version of the show. That means ad-free episodes. That means early access. That means member-only channels in the Discord server. That means live streams for those who like to watch. And of course, the smug satisfaction of knowing what all the others have missed. So join the Next Reel family of film podcasts as a supporting member and stop guessing what was behind the mirror. Go to TrueStory.fm/join because the real horror is not knowing what you missed.
Letterboxd, Andy, Letterboxd. Letterboxd.com/The Next Reel. That's where you can find all of the movies that we have been talking about on this show and where our stars and hearts are buried and sometimes cleaved asunder.
Sometimes boiled in a hot bathtub.
What are you going to do for this movie?
I have such a fun time with this one. It's bloody, it's silly, it's just a lot of fun. Some great creepy moments. 4 stars and a heart is where I'm going to land with this one.
Andy, me too.
Look at that.
4 stars and a heart.
Look at that.
What is going on right now?
Samesies, I guess.
Samesies.
Yeah.
Outstanding. I can't believe this is a 4-star movie. I can't believe it.
So you walked into this not expecting it to be.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I walked into it expecting it to be barely watchable.
Really?
I thought I was going to be mad at you again.
Wow. This is very, there's a reason these movies hold up for 50 years.
I know.
That's the whole point of this series. Watch next week's Dog Day Afternoon is the one you're going to be like, 1 star. Pooey.
Well, that one I've seen before.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm going to be surprised.
You think it's aged poorly?
Maybe you really hate it. That's your secret.
It's got issues. It's got quibbles. It practically outlines its own quibbles.
Oh my gosh. Well, that will average out to 4 stars and a heart. You can find that over at our account on Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and you can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So, what did you think about Deep Red or Profondo Rosso? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community, where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Kick it off? Sure.
Yeah, I do want you to kick it off. I want you to kick it off.
I've got a 3.5 by Fran Hoffner, who has this to say. Hated watching concert pianists try to rip plaster off the wall with his fingertips. Protect the assets, buddy. I could not agree more.
That made you uncomfortable.
That was horrifying to watch. I was just like, no. I wasn't thinking about him being a pianist. I was just thinking about, geez, that is awful for your fingers. Shivers up my spine.
Well, I have a 3-star follow-up that I think is on theme from Taylor Williams, who says, I'm surprised the killer didn't turn out to be asbestos with how much of it this guy was eating. That's all I could think about is put a mask on, man. You are breathing toxin.
I love that when he realizes the window that has been plastered over, that instead of just going inside to find the room, he's just like, I'm going to scale the wall of this place to find the window. then it doesn't go well. He's
Start
like, okay,
hammering from the
I'm
outside.
going to go to the wall now.
There was something really unsettling about how they shot that. Like, could you get a sense of what floor he was on?
It was high, but it's also like the house is in a weird position. I love that it's the house of the screaming child, like it's been dubbed that. But it's like, so it feels like there's multi-levels because it also feels like it's on a hill. So it feels like suddenly like there's a drop here. And so it's farther up than maybe if you'd gone around the corner.
Yeah. And because when he falls, like he's on we get to see him scale down 2 stories. And I kept thinking, maybe is the camera trying to trick us and tell us that they can't get any lower? So they're going to shoot, very low and try and make us think that this is like 5-story house, but it's not working. And then there's a hidden story beneath him. So like they pull back as he's scaling down the side and there's even more house.
Yeah.
So I think it's a 3rd-story window.
Yeah.
That he's banging into. The other thing that I made me think of, which I wondered, given all of your repainting projects, at any point did you think to yourself, damn it, why didn't we seal off a room?
I always wonder about that.
I spent a lot of time the day I watched this thinking, is there a room in my house I could get away with sealing off from the outside and inside that nobody would notice?
That's that trick. That's the trick.
I don't have it.
Yeah, you got to have the right design for a house where it's hard to tell. And I think modern houses, it's kind of, well, and also you got to have more of a mansion to really get to that place where you can safely seal the room off.
Well, at least we know what we're shooting for.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks, Letterboxd.